Okay, good morning. Thank you so much for your attention. As you heard, my name is Jenny Sukov. I have the pleasure of moderating this panel today, and I'm just going to ask my fellow panelists to take a minute to introduce themselves to you. And since we're talking about holistic well-being, we thought we would all offer up something we do in our own lives to try to stay healthy. So for me, it's yoga, and I think the thing I love most about it is that even just like literally 15 minutes makes me feel like a different person. So that's my yoga wellness tip for you.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you. My name is Justine Mitzak. I work at Lyra as a strategist, and what that really means is I work with and support HR leaders in determining their workforce mental health strategy as it aligns with everything else in their business needs. So I can do that because I have about 25 years of experience leading global benefits and total rewards teams across a variety of different industries, all of which here in New York City. So great to be here and see a lot of familiar faces. I'm not a big wellness person, admittedly, but we were just talking behind the scenes, and for me, like just getting off the Zoom, we work in this very virtual world, and it's great and a lot of benefits. But I was just meeting with a customer last Friday on some strategy, and I said, it's beautiful. I live in New England. Can we just get out and do this meeting over a walk? Or I was trying to get around to golfing, honestly. She didn't bite, but she did say, hey, there's these great botanical gardens near me, and we just went for a walk and had our entire meeting outside. So that was really filled my cup.
Nice. Good morning, everyone. Christina Hansen, Director, Global Benefits at Verisk Analytics. I oversee about 9,000 employees globally, and in charge of everything from core benefits to wellness programs. And my wellness addiction is golf. I picked it up during COVID, and everybody was outdoors, and I just fell in love with the sport. It's frustrating. I can't say I'm a golfer, but you have your bad holes, you tee off really well, and then you just get so excited for those winning moments, and it has me. So I golf at least once a week.
Hi everyone, Lindsey Garito. I've been in HR for 20 years, and I've held a variety of roles over that time in talent acquisition, Workday and HR technology, HR operations, and of course Total Rewards. That's where I've spent some of my recent time, and currently I'm Assistant Vice President of Total Rewards Talent Enablement at Montefiore. So Montefiore is a premier academic health system here in New York, based in the Bronx. Montefiore started in 1884 and has been a sort of a long-standing healthcare institution here in New York, and has greatly expanded into the Hudson Valley, and so that kind of created what is now the Montefiore Health System. And then we also have Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which thus you'll see us really today as Montefiore Einstein. And so in my role, I kind of bridge between Total Rewards, which for us is benefits, wellness, leave administration, and compensation, as well as the talent side. And so bridging those processes as we think about our strategy in terms of pay for performance and how do we motivate and incentivize employees, and what does our performance processes look like going forward. So for me, in terms of how I stay healthy and well-being, I prioritize movement. That's my thing, is just making sure that I'm moving. I feel like we can get stuck behind that desk and behind that computer for hours upon hours. I don't know how you get sucked in, but making sure that I get out every morning if I can. That's sort of how I love to start my day, a super early morning walk. I live right across from a park, and so that's really my favorite time of day, when it's super quiet and I get to go on that walk and just make sure I'm moving.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm Mira Oliva. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Candidly. Candidly offers student loan and college savings benefits to the modern workforce, and we work with many employers, like many of you, as well as record keepers and financial institutions to bring our student debt solutions to borrowers in America. As far as my little wellness fact, so mine has more to do with mental wellness than physical wellness. So every morning, I have 3 boys, 3 almost tween boys. So it's not calm,
in my house in the mornings. It takes a lot to get them out of school, pack their lunches, get them to the bus, get everybody out on time, and then I work from home, so I need something to help me kind of transition from that chaos to work chaos. So after I get everybody out the door, I sit down, I do 4 quick word puzzles in the New York Times. Maybe some of you do too. I do Wordle, connections, strands, and the mini crossword. It takes me about 5 minutes with my coffee, and it just really helps just kind of shift me mentally from my crazy home life into my work life.
Thank you. I love that. Well, let's just dig in and get started. So we're here to talk about, how employers can provide holistic solutions, right? But we also want to address everyone in the workforce, and we want to increase productivity, and we want to stay within budget. So kind of a tall order. I thought we could start by just talking a little big picture. How do you even begin to really decide what benefits are worth keeping and what aren't, and how do you evaluate what you're currently providing employees, and if you have to make cuts, where do you start making those decisions? So I thought, Lindsey, you could kick us off. I know there's an assumption sometimes that working at a health system means that you have the best health and wellness benefits for your employees, or that they even know how to take advantage of them, but I bet that's not always the case. So tell us a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So in healthcare, employees are caregivers. They spend most of their day caring for patients and the community. And the reality is that most of them go home and they're still caregivers. So whether it's their children or their parents or family members, their pets even. So there's just very little time for them to care for themselves, and it's hard for them to prioritize their own well-being, unfortunately. And they are very much on the front lines, in person, on site, and don't have some of the flexibility that other industries and organizations might have. So for us, we want to make sure that our employees are feeling cared for and that their health and well-being is being prioritized the same way that we look for them to do that for our patients, and make sure that we are providing them the best employee experience possible, just like they provide the best patient experience possible. And so right now, Montefiore is on an exciting journey. We're implementing our next-gen HR strategy, as we call it. And that for us is just an exciting transformation from some of our current state processes and going more digital. Bringing in modern technology, bringing in simplified business processes, really prioritizing innovation. Montefiore, as a healthcare organization, really prioritizes innovation and does some great groundbreaking achievements in the medical field. So we want to bring that same innovation into HR. And then that cascades down into, of course, our total rewards team and our benefits and well-being. And so we're going through sort of this rebrand of human resources to create what is life at Montefiore. And then for us, we're sort of rebranding how we look at some of what we're doing. So for example, in terms of our health and well-being, we've just rebranded to Healthy Me, where me kind of represents Montefiore Einstein as well. And so we're really just making sure that our employees, which we call associates, have the tools, the resources that they need, that it's frictionless, that we're providing the best experience for them as possible. We really need them to be able to get the information that they need when they need it, which is typically not at work, not at a desk. Many of them don't really access work email. And so we want to make sure that we're also reaching their families and their family members and having tools and resources that they can utilize when they're at home, which is typically when the most benefit-related conversations are being had. And so thinking about that next-gen HR strategy, as well as how we're using technology to continuously improve those experiences and also implement new benefits.
Great, thank you. Christina, how about you? What are you doing to provide benefits?
So for those of you who are not familiar with Verisk, Verisk provides data analytics solutions, risk management solutions to insurance companies. So we have a lot of data scientists in our workforce, and one of the things that we use to truly engage, to review and see what is engaging our employees and what they're looking for are the employee engagement surveys. Our CHRO takes it extremely seriously. She reads through all the comments. I mean, if they're just this past June, there were 1,500 comments, and she read them all, and she sent them out to various HR leaders. So the benefits items came to me, and one of the big things is mental health. So this year we implemented 2 wellness days. So we have one in the spring and one upcoming in the fall. And the wellness days was intended. People were asking for flexible work days, but with the type of business we run, it's really tough to have people out randomly, and it was really tough on managers and business leaders. So the 2 wellness days was a big win for the company. It was a big win for our employees. We also offered the summer Fridays, so we have the 2 hours off. So those were some flexible wellness offerings that the company could give, where it wasn't costing us a lot of money, and yet it was very valuable. We value work flexibility very much so. We are a hybrid workforce. We're trying to come back more in office. We're at 2 days a week. We're trying to get to 3, but employees are really just voicing their opinion that they want that flexibility maintained. So. And then when it comes to actual benefit programs, one of the big things is mental health. So that is a very big topic at Verisk. We have instituted a vendor. So this vendor is, the purpose for hiring them was to increase accessibility. Prior, we had the EAP, which, yes, it does provide mental health resources for our employees only. They can talk to someone for help with their dependents, but the access wasn't really there. And then they could go to their provider. Traditionally, you would have to get probably a referral or just kind of navigate your way through the healthcare system. It drives up cost and claims. So what could we do? So we hired Teladoc Health, and we designed the program where an employee can just pay the copay. Right now we have a $25 copay, and they could access a therapist, a clinician. We can even have a psychiatrist if needed, and it's for them and their dependents. And it has really grown in popularity. The access is there, and the utilization rate has quadrupled since January. It just started January 2024. So that has been a big success for Verisk, and we're looking to continue the program and really just promote it, just to make sure that people understand that, hey, if you need help, it's a phone call away, and it's an immediate mental health provider. That's what we're doing.
Well, Justine, obviously I'm going to bring you in here on the mental health issue, but quickly, Lindsey, I just saw you nodding.
Yeah,
I want to make sure, is that also a priority at
Absolutely.
Montefiore?
Absolutely, yeah. We're definitely seeing mental health care a priority for our employees. We've recently did that deep dive with our broker. We are a self-insured medical plan, and so did that analysis of our data, where our employees in terms of their PCP visits, their health status, are they in compliance, and what is sort of prevalent among different demographics and different generations, and sort of where is the spend, and then where can we bring in new programs and different benefits, prioritize communication of existing benefits to meet some of those needs. And for sure, mental health has come up as one of them. And so we have a really great partnership with our EAP and all of our providers. We really emphasize those partnerships and try to leverage those relationships. And so our EAP doesn't just deliver the typical counseling sessions. We have all sorts of benefits that are through that program, and heavy sessions that they provide. So we have contracted orientation sessions, information sessions. We have a monthly wellness newsletter that we send out to employees, and it always features different sessions that our own internal wellness team is offering, that the EAP is offering. We bring in Fidelity for our financial information sessions, and they range the gamut. It could be a grief counseling check-in. It could be support for caregiving. So there's a wide variety of topics that are featured in that newsletter, and we make sure that all of the employees are getting those resources and information and kind of know what's available to them. And knowing that mental health comes from different stresses in life, and maybe they're dealing with finding childcare, maybe they're dealing with some legal issues, maybe they have an identity theft. So we have some of those benefits built into our EAP as well to really strengthen the offerings that are there and what employees have access to.
Thanks. So Justine, what kind of things are you doing and are you helping with your clients? What's innovative? What should we be thinking about that's coming next in terms of mental health?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, kudos to both of you for really providing those resources. And, it's not easy, and there's a lot of single point solutions out there and a lot of different niche type vendors. So it's definitely not easy. So one of the things that, we started off really trying to address that access issue, right? That was first and foremost. People there are so many barriers. And that's a bit of table stakes at this point, but we're constantly, you use the word innovating, we're constantly innovating and evolving to see what you guys need. So really making it as comprehensive as possible, because we don't want to have to send your folks one place to do some mindfulness and do just a quick wellness check-in, go to another place where maybe you need some mental health care, some therapy, go to yet another place where maybe you need specialty support for your children, and then a lot of complex needs as well. So where we're staying ahead of the game is trying to be as comprehensive as possible, so that you don't have to spend your time navigating, you're driving such a great employee experience, because we're the experts. We've debunked the access problem, but then you come to us and you need just a self-guided type of check-in. You can do that, or you need some really specialty care that needs to work with some higher levels of care, and we can do that for you as well. So really, the other area where I think we've really been making a lot of strides with our partners is exactly what Lindsey was talking about, is really permeating within your culture based on your goals and saying, where do you need us to be, right? Everybody learns differently. Some people learn, in on-demand type training sessions. Some people just like word of mouth. There's a lot of, different levels of communication when it comes to mental health because of some of the stigma, but really working with your strategy and being those arms and legs for you, so that we have these joint goals. Like I think Kim was talking in her session about you don't just show up as a vendor and say, okay, let things just go. We have joint strategies, joint goals for what we're trying to achieve, and we know what those success measures are.
Well, I think what's an interesting point, as we're talking about this holistic wellness, and, mental health, luckily, is now something common that we all talk about, but, financial wellness and financial stresses are really a big part of how people show up at work. And Mira, I wonder if you could tell us a little more about how you're working with employers and how they're finding, the intersection between financial issues and other wellness issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the link between mental wellness and financial wellness is very, clearly established. And, we work with employers and employees to help them across the full life cycle of education expenses. So whether that's planning and paying for college and repaying student debt and building savings. And, for most people, repaying student debt and paying for their kids to go to college or paying for themselves to go to college is one of the biggest financial events they'll have in their life, and actually one of the most stressful financial events that they'll have in their lives. And actually, sometimes those things can happen at the same time. The time horizon of paying down student debt can be 20, 25 years. Many people are already having kids and planning for those kids to go to college, at that period of time. So it can be, very, very stressful, and especially with college, the cost of a four-year college now reaching $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, it's obvious that this is a big stress for people. And that link between financial stress and the stress that people bring into the workplace, is fairly well established. People who are financially stressed are more likely to actually miss work due to that stress. They are more likely to be distracted at work because of that stress. They spend on average 3 to 5 hours a week during work time dealing with their finances. So, there's a real vested interest in the workplace to help people bring that stress down. And what we try to do at Candidly is to provide benefits that meet people wherever they are in that spectrum, to help them lower their monthly payments on their student loans, set up a 529 for their kids, do things like make small extra payments toward their student debt that add up over time and help them pay down their debt faster, so that we're helping them kind of reduce that stress and reduce the distraction, be more engaged, and be more present at work.
We're talking about reaching not just the employee, but spouses, family members, teens, children. How do you do that? Lindsey, how do you reach everyone? How do you make sure that you're getting the message out?
Sure, it's not easy, and it's definitely an important part of your benefit strategy is your communication strategy, and how do you go beyond just internal communications, which doesn't reach everyone. When we think about how many members, for example, for us that we have on our benefits, it's over 32,000. And so we have a lot of people that we need to reach. And so some of our strategy has been a public website. So we do have a website that is available to candidates, to prospective potential employees, but as well as our employees and their family members. And so they have accessibility to a lot of information, all of the different benefits that are offered. Those newsletters that I mentioned, yes, they do go out internally, but they are also available on that website. There is some benefits information that requires a login, but it's an easy login for the employees, so they don't have to worry about remote access, which many of them don't have. So we really prioritize that site. We'll be really looking to modernize that experience and make it even better going forward. But for us, that's been a key part of the communication in terms of making sure that the family members are aware of the different benefits and offerings that we have. I mentioned we have a wellness team internally, so we have the benefit of providers in our own organization, and so we do a lot of work, our own workshops and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. And then as we look forward towards what we roll out, bringing it on that site is a key communication for us, and we're looking forward to our new HR technology that we'll be rolling out in the next year or two, because that will be a key source of information sharing as well, and how we reach people in different ways, especially on a mobile app.
Christina, do you have anything to add there about reaching, the different generations in the workforce or people at home? How are you guys doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that, Verisk has grown tremendously over the last, I would say 3 to 5 years. Some acquisitions in the US, but mostly we're growing overseas. But one of the challenges that I'm being faced with is the fragmentation as a result of mergers and acquisitions. So you have the businesses, they work in their own siloed culture. So one of the challenges I need to do is, yes, we are corporate, we are Verisk. How do I deploy a unified benefit strategy to all these former acquisitions that we had, who, while respecting the local culture, their local business culture. And so actually, when I was talking to our EAP vendor, and I was like, what can we do to help train and bring wellness and well-being to the local offices? And they're like, we have an ambassador training program. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. And when I looked into this, I was talking to some of our local HR, and especially overseas, I don't know about other companies, but in particular with Verisk in the UK, in Poland, and in Germany, they really want that tangible feel. They don't want an app thrown at them. I was looking at platforms, I'll be honest, to kind of deploy worldwide, and they really wanted somebody that they could speak to. And having this ambassador program through our EAP and train volunteers, so the cost is low, right? Because they're going to volunteer from, and we have champions who are already sending me emails like, I want to bring wellness to my office. So having a formal ambassador program that we're planning to launch, realistically probably early 26, but to get them trained, to bring the wellness to their local business, it's just a win-win, not only for the corporate benefit strategy, but also for the local offices, where they will know that peer, and also they will be able to provide that wellness, mental health mentorship for everyone. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
I just want to add, similarly, we have already and will be continuing to expand on well-being ambassadors on the ground, boots on the ground. We can't just do it ourselves as an HR team. So it's really important for us to have those ambassadors very similarly embedded within the business, and that's really important for us. And also, we also have a very in-person touch as well. So we make sure that we have, not everyone wants to be digital, not everyone wants to utilize a website, they still want to talk to someone, and that may be the same thing for their family members. So we do have some team members dedicated to, we have a line, it's a public phone number or email that people can contact the family members as well. So if they have questions, if they're unsure about navigating certain benefits, if they're unsure about what is offered, they can speak directly to one of our team members.
Great. Justina, I wanted to kind of pivot here because I know we talked earlier about how, there's so much stress on the people leaders themselves and the benefits administrators. And we just heard a little bit about how ambassadors need to help uplift these messages. What do you guys see at Lyra in terms of how HR and people leaders are needing some extra support as well?
Yeah, I call it, compassion fatigue, and I know I myself sort of suffered from that every time, as the owners of Total Rewards and Benefits, people only come to you when there's a problem, right? And, especially with mental health, there's a lot of different ways that people don't come to you on that. So it's almost like you're solving problems in a vacuum sometimes. But it was just physical health, people weren't shy. They'd come to me and say, oh, I got this rash, and what can you do about it? And I'm just like, whoa, here's your health plan, here's your benefit, go see somebody. But, it just presents itself a lot differently in mental health. And so what we see a lot is really, certainly these well-being ambassadors and really managers, right? A lot being placed on the manager. And, what we saw, a couple of years ago is really mental health was a you problem. You need to go see somebody, that's on you. And where it's really evolved is saying managers play a key role in helping people support their mental health, even just training managers to notice that there's something going on, especially in this virtual world, right? A lot of managers are managing virtual teams. So really having them be not therapists, but be people that say, there's something going on here. Let me navigate this person to the right resources. So we're really seeing a lot of work with our customers, training up the managers, supporting them, and then really driving that community. Again, all in vein of what the company's, business goals are, but, how do we create that infrastructure? And also with leaders, right? A lot of times, we try to do these grassroots efforts, and that's great, but where we see some customers really coming out with a moment of vulnerability, from leaders, and that just pays off in spades, because as much as we're all, educated and sophisticated and have been in this professional world, we definitely look to our leaders to understand what the accepted culture is. And so that really has been a lot of, I would dare say fun, and really working with leaders who, haven't historically been that vulnerable, to really show how that can impact the culture.
I could add, we recently had a mental health manager training for one of our business units, our large business units, and it was, I'll be honest, it was $500 spent with lunch. It was well received, and it's so important. It seems obvious, but for just whether it be benefits or your corporate HR, just to show that support and provide those tools for managers, it really goes a long way. So I just wanted to share that.
Mira, I wanted to bring you in and ask about, the stigma about financial instability, or just how to bring that up in the workplace, and how you counsel your customers and what you're finding there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the most critical things is for employers to also really just acknowledge and see who is dealing with financial stress. And it really may not be as obvious as it seems. So obviously we work with clients a lot, with respect to student debt, and we say a lot that that word even is a misnomer, that it really is not student debt, it is mom debt, and it's dad debt, and it's grandparent debt, and this is a problem that is age and wage agnostic, so it probably lives within your workforce, all over your workforce. In fact, baby boomers are the fastest growing segment of student loan borrowers as they borrow to pay for their kids and their grandkids right at the point in which they should really be thinking about retirement. So what may feel obvious, that something like this is a young person's problem, really is not. And so part of it is knowing where do these problems exist within the organization, and also understanding that a lot of times financial stress and these financial events don't live in isolation. So, people, almost half of Americans don't have $500 saved for an emergency. 8 in 10 student loan borrowers do not save for retirement until they're done paying down their student debt. So, they have just lost years and years and years of compound interest on wealth that they will never get back. So, these, problems really don't live in isolation. And I think employers, increasingly realize this too. Also increasingly realize that they don't live in isolation for the person. So, we've talked a lot about kind of offering benefits to spouses and children. I always say, I met my husband in business school. I graduated with $100,000 worth of debt, and that means that poor guy who went to school on a scholarship also graduated business school with $100,000 worth of debt. So, these problems really don't live in isolation. So we do see, employers who really want to extend a lot of these financial wellness benefits to spouses and children. And again, that makes sense because finances are typically a family thing. The one thing I will say about that is, as a provider, I think you have to really start to think about what does that really look like, right? So how are we defining in this context a spouse and a child in a world in which families take on all different shapes and sizes? How are you providing access? So what systems do people who aren't employees have access to? How are they gaining access to this benefit? Budget-wise, what are you thinking about utilization? If everybody's spouse and everybody's child uses this, what is that going to look like budget-wise? So you really have to think about, what are the downstream impacts of that, and how do you want to manage that type of inclusivity?
That's a perfect tee up, because before the session ends, let's get to the money. Let's talk about ROI and VOI and how you guys are measuring success. Christina, do you want to go first?
I can start. In benefits, one of the things we look at is claims, right? We're with a self-funded plan, we're constantly reviewing claims. Where is this going? What are the top drivers of the claims utilization? What can we do? What are alternatives to help change behavior where you don't always have to run to the doctor for something that's happening? Maybe like we did the mental health program where it doesn't have to escalate to, number one, we don't want the illness to escalate, but also so they don't have to see a doctor. Maybe they just need a therapist or so. So that's one of the mitigation plans that we put in place this year. It is new, so we don't have much data on it. And frankly, with a program with causation and correlation for the data nerds out there, you really can't say that this program is the cause of maybe my mental health claims going down. However, in big picture, it is well received. It can't hurt. I think that employees are really seeing the benefit and the value of this, and easy access is that's just such a game changer rather than having to navigate that mental health system out there, especially going the traditional way through a doctor. So one of the ways that we are going to measure it is mainly utilization. We are going to take our wins, and if the medical claims go down, I say that's a win, and it will make my CFO and CHRO happy. And we're going to continue on this path. Right now, it is the biggest program we're running because of the noise we're hearing, employee engagement surveys, and so that's what we're embarking on. But yeah, it's an exciting opportunity. I think well-being in itself, just bringing just an overall sense of caring and support for your employees, I think that also will bring down some utilization and just that engagement and just an overall more positive feeling. Really, it turns into dollars in the long run.
And I'm curious, I mean, do you get pushback from your leadership? Have you had to make cuts on other programs?
Yeah, to share, honestly, so when I was initially looking at a global well-being program, I was focused on platforms and these virtual platforms, because I was thinking, how can we deploy across EMEA and APAC and the US and Canada? They can run up to like 300K, I mean, depending how big your workforce is. So I was spending hours building business cases on why this will work for the company. And so I did get the pushback. They said, hey, think about this a little bit. But when you dig deeper, reach out to your local business leaders, like your local HR. I mean, that really helped when I did some meetings with them. It doesn't even have to be formal. I just said, hey, how are things going? What are you hearing from your workforce? And that's how that ambassador program kind of eventually came to light. And I said, oh my goodness, like what have I been doing? Like spending hours on just trying to prove that like 300,000 was worth the spend, and just knowing that there are people who care and are willing to step up and help, and they're not in my benefits department, was a big game changer. And now we have a more cost-effective plan for the next 2 years. So
that's great. Mm-hmm. Lindsey, how about you?
Well, very similar to Christina, we are self-insured as well, and so similarly, we look at the claims and where is the spend and what programs can we implement. Maybe it's with our health insurance carrier. One thing we're looking at right now is, of course, GLP-1s, and is there a program that we can embed into our health plan to help with the management, both in terms of diabetes or weight loss management, that just requires a little bit more patient and provider engagement there. We also, again, have our own internal providers and clinicians, so our wellness team can build workshops if we're seeing that perhaps a certain area is driving up the spend. We can maybe prioritize some sessions in that space and in that area, bring in some of our own providers to speak on the subject and provide education. Utilization is also a big measure of success. Ultimately, are employees utilizing the benefits that we're offering? If not, why? Can we explore that? Can we dive into that? For us, it's also who's going to the doctor. That was a pretty interesting stat to look at, and we saw we were a little bit below benchmark, and so that's an area of opportunity. When we talk about holistic well-being, people aren't even going to the doctor. They're not even going for their primary care visit. So it's even little things like that need to be a priority and something that we can focus on in terms of helping employees going forward.
People in your healthcare system are not going to the doctor. I just want to...
They're caring for everyone else, not themselves.
I get it. Well, we're almost out of time, but I wanted to just give everybody a chance to share some more of your wisdom with this audience. Thank you so much for your attention. But is there something either recently that you've learned, or if you could sort of turn back time, 20/20 hindsight, that you might have done differently, or one piece of advice that you would want to share with the group? Mira?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about, just kind of even listening to you all and hearing the benefits that are being offered. I mean, this is so obvious, but I think about myself as like a young worker. I never knew all of the benefits that were available to me, and I never really, especially when I was younger, was like, oh, HSA, FSA, it sounds like such a pain. I'm never going to remember this stupid card at CVS when I have to buy this thing. But there's so much free money on the table in these benefits, and there's so much that people can engage with and take advantage of, that like really, starting with the employer and understanding what is being offered to you. I feel like I, over my career have missed out on so many benefits from just not knowing what's available.
Yeah. All right, 10-second round. Lindsey.
Use your employee data to inform your strategy and decisions, but also be connected with your business leaders. They can let you know what's really important to the employees that they're seeing frontline every day, and maybe where their stresses are coming from, and that can help inform some of your strategy and what you're doing.
Thanks, Christina.
Talk to your vendors. That's something I didn't, I mean, I know what they offer, but really talk to them and see if they can offer something more. And that's one thing I learned from my EAP vendor.
Very good advice. Justine?
I wouldn't say it's a turn back time, but I think, just really focus on the families. There's just so many things that are happening at the home and are really affecting your workers, and you pay a lot of money to give them benefits and support. And I know for me personally, I have a couple of teens and a Gen Alpha, and just having that support from my employer, has not only done great for me personally, but also professionally. So really, I know it's hard and we have a lot of different workforces, but really support those families. They're struggling.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.